Great. In such case,
Yeah.
if you will, sorry, if you will have questions, you can ask them tomorrow during the seminar. So feel free to be prepared for tomorrow. Sorry, Elena.
Uh, that is totally fine. I was just going to say that I'm back online. Something happened with my browser, so it just shut off really unexpectedly. Okay, hope you didn't lose me for so long. Let's start then. Uh, So first of all, again, I wanted to say thank you to Anna who asked her questions. And again, this is very helpful because this helps to structure today's talk. First of all, let me open again the questions. Mm. I will go one by one. And the first question is, what is the past coverage analysis tool? Is it commonly used in companies, and does the tester monitor it, or it depends on the company? This is a very good question because it touches upon a theoretical problem of types of testing. As it was mentioned in our fourth lecture when we were talking about the types of testing and approaches to the testing process itself. We were speaking about such two types as black box testing, which deals with some data which comes on as an input, and then we can analyze the output, and hence we do not know what's inside of this system, so that's why it's called black box. And another approach to testing is quite the opposite. It is called white box testing, and it deals with the situation when we know exactly what we are working with. And in this case, in programming and software engineering, the most comprehensive, the most tangible knowledge about the system under test is its code, so the program itself. And that is why this white box testing is always concerned with analyzing the code. So the testers themselves usually are not involved in this activity. This is something that is usually performed by the programmers. So on that level, when the work is assessed based on the code, just the code, so this is mostly programmers, developers who do it rather than testers. Testers can look into the code, but this is something I would say complementary to their main approach to testing, which is in most cases is black box. So our main goal is to analyze the end behavior of the system under test rather than review the work of programmers who created the code by line. I hope that this answers the question, the first part of the question, probably. Um, about the test coverage monitor, so what kind of tool it is. This is just basically a tool which runs through the program code line by line, and it helps to identify which line has been executed during the actual launch of this program. So it's just a comparison tool whether each line of code has been executed, whether each condition or branch has been executed, whether each of those branches of the decision tree have been executed. So if we look closer to this coverage, there are also several types of coverage within. But I think that the best way is to look into this to look it up in the syllabus of ISTQB foundation level. So I think this is fourth chapter. So if you're interested in that, you can take a look there. About whether it is commonly used in companies, I think I've answered it when mentioned that this is usually something that is done on the development stage. So my suggestion would be that yes, I would suggest that that the companies all use such a tool, but before the actual testing phase. On to the next question then, if this is something that we can consider as an answer. So correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, if you're okay to move on to the next question. So, and it deals with the types of testing coverage measures and who decides on them, right? Whether it is a team of stakeholders or is it something that tester decides about. I think that it is mostly that it is both, and it depends on the definition of who we consider as stakeholders. So if we do not include testers into stakeholders, when we think that software testing is an activity, the goal of which is to provide an informational service to the stakeholders, right? We provide the information about the behavior, about the state of the system under test to our stakeholders. So to say to people who are responsible for the like live service functioning of the system under test. So in this case, I think that there are two maybe possible ways of how these measures can be chosen. First of all, those stakeholders have their duties in front of different regulatory organs and in front of their end users, their clients, and so on and so forth, and to execute their own responsibilities, they need to make sure that some I don't know, areas maybe of the functioning of the system under test are covered. For example, it is very it's a very frequent case, very typical case when it is connected with the regulatory reporting. And it deals with the type of reporting when the stakeholder has to show that certain areas were tested, that certain conditions are fulfilled, and so on and so forth. So that's why the stakeholder will always ask the software testing team to have the test cases, the test scenarios, and the test coverage for this very area. So for something that they need to report somewhere else, somewhere upstream, I would say. And another piece of testing coverage, which can be decided inside the quality assurance team, this is something that testers can decide on based on their experience. So they can like anticipate the areas which will need extra attention from the team, and they can decide which functional areas they are going to test. And this is something that is decided first based on experience, and second based on requirement specification. So when we have this stage of requirement analysis, right, which is before testing, So on this stage, we need to outline something that we want to cover. Yes, but I think there also can be so many other things that can add to the coverage assessment, add to the measures of the coverage, because it's always something that during the can emerge during the project itself. For example, in the middle of development, we communicate with the end user team, with the customer team, and they suggest some changes, or they suggest that something that we implemented from the requirements is not actually something that they expected. So we add test scenarios to cover this behavior as well. And in this case, it is very difficult to define the coverage. But long story short, it's both stakeholders and it is testing team who decides on what to test and what to cover, and how close to complete coverage are we in each and every case. And maybe one more small detail to this question, to add to this question, is like we were mentioning in lectures 4 and 5, I would say, we mentioned such school of thought, I would say, in software testing, and it is called a context-driven school. So everything depends on the context. So we need to look at each and every project, and it depends. It just depends. Okay, I think this is it for the second question. Yes, and the third question is more from the legal area, right? This is about the difference between negligence and malpractice. Is it a difference in legal matter? Yes, I would say it is, because both can cause injury and loss. Yes, you're absolutely right. Both of them can cause injury and loss. Let me try again and share my screen. Just one second. I was able to restore my browser, but it's still very slow. Sorry for that. It's very, very slow. Okay. Okay, while it is trying to load, I would like to refer to the lecture itself. So when we discussed the notions of negligence and malpractice, we presented two points of view. One of them is that the difference between negligence and malpractice is first in intent. When you are negligent, you just do not anticipate the bad outcome of you not taking adequate measures. And when we are talking about malpractice, you actually know that what you are doing is not enough, but still you hope that doing whatever you do is okay, and this will not lead to bad consequences like on their own, but the bad consequences are inevitable in this case. So speaking about intent, right? So if so the first difference is whether a person is aware that he or she is not acting in the right way. And another moment which helps to distinguish between the two is the standard, the certification, the professional level. For example, when we claim that we have a certification in some area, if we are certified to test something, so this is a higher probability that we will be sued for malpractice rather than negligence. Negligence is something that is applied to an area which is not strictly regulated, which is not strictly defined, and we just can talk about the activity in activity which is performed by I don't know, just people who are good at it, let's say so, but not certified professionals. So when we claim that we have a certification, it is more likely to be considered a case in malpractice. And I think that from legal perspective, from the legal point of view, there is also a difference in punishment, in punitive measures, which are applied in first and in the second case. I think that if we are talking about negligence, it is more connected with the financial compensation. So we will need to compensate for the loss, and we will need to compensate to pay some fee maybe for not following the standard procedures. So this is mostly financial. And when we are talking about malpractice, the measures will also include financial side as well, but which is more serious. It is like some more serious charges, and it can even be connected with, like, you can be banned from performing such an activity in the future. So my view is that it is something like that. But again, since this is something connected with the law, with the legal system, you have you have always to check with the legal system of the country in question. So it's what I'm saying. This is like general considerations. And when we're talking about legal systems of each and every country, you just need to look into the documentation, into the practice, into the precedent history. So I think this will cover the questions. Okay. Okay. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to ask. And again, thank you for writing your questions beforehand. It was really good to think about it one more time. Thank you.
So don't forget that tomorrow we have seminar instead of Friday.
Yes, and will we have any like official closure of the course? Is it already scheduled?
Not separate one, but on the last seminar, and we will
Oh,
announce
okay.
also information about tests, about certificates, and then if further there will be more questions, definitely we can have additional tests. Depends on the needs.
Okay, okay then. Okay, thank you so much for joining this session, and see you tomorrow, right?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.